Hello, and welcome to Tartan Touchdown in Conversation With, our series of episodes telling the stories of people within the world of American football. As always, if you enjoy listening to and watching us, please make sure you follow us on Instagram and subscribe on our YouTube channel, and we are available on all your major podcast platforms. Before I introduce our guest, joining me and the host here tonight is Gav. Gav, how are you? It's been ages since I've actually seen you, so this is nice.
Yeah, it's good to see you, good to see Kelly, and yeah, it's just been a really busy stretch. I know that some things are being recorded in different orders, so I won't hint where we've just been because it might be a bit of time before we get to it. But yeah, it's great to be back in the seat and really looking forward to tonight's conversation.
Back in the hosting chair. Well, he sort of gave it away, but I will quickly run through our guest's many hats that she wears at the moment. So we have Coventry Cougar, former Team GB women's flag football player and captain, and current head coach of the GB Under-21s men's flag, and head coach of the GB youth programme, as she just went into detail with us off air. But it's Kellie Barrett. Kellie, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I've been excited to do this.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for ages. Dan popped in ahead of time and was like, oh, we caught her at the women's final. We were like, we should really get you on. And here we are in July.
Yes.
When we're recording this. Again, I don't know when this is going up. It will go up at some point, but July at the time of recording. So we've been in the works for a while. So we are delighted to have you on to be able to share your story.
Yeah, thank you. We got here in the end. That's the main thing.
That's the main thing. So, for those who are listening or watching an episode of In Conversation With for the first time, we aim to take you through the sport and the player from the very early years, from when they first started out all the way to their present day. So, with that being said, Kellie, what are some of your earliest sporting memories? Doesn't have to be flag. Anything that you can remember picking up as like a child and being like, okay, I actually quite like doing this.
I was always a sporty kid. I would try my hand at everything. A lot of people won't know this. I've actually got my second black belt in Taekwondo. Yes, I did that when I was growing up. Hockey, football, netball, rugby, you name it, I tried it. Triathlons, just literally every. But both my parents were sporty as well. So I think my dad played rugby till he was like 38, and my mum was always active as well. So I think it's just in my blood at this point.
Yeah, just you were like extracurricular activities out of the box pretty much. And then how did you like first discover flag football, and then like what kept you coming back to it? Was there like a moment early on where you were like, okay, this actually might be my sport?
So I was 7 years old when I was first introduced to flag football, and there was a bunch of guys from the Coventry Jets contact team and a guy called Pete Evans that come into my primary school, and they did like a PE session and then they did sessions after school. So it was my sister that did it first, and then my age group got to do it afterwards. But the coaches were just like so fun, so engaging, and it's nice because I actually seen one of my first coaches the other day as he was put into the Hall of Fame. So that was like it was almost like a full circle moment for me there. That was so nice. But yeah, I started super early just at school. And it was just something different because you're so used to the same sports, like you do your football and you do your hockey and your basketball and your things like that. And it was just something so different and exciting. And I mean, I got to run around for hours. So as a sporty kid, I was just like, yeah, this is fantastic. And then obviously it was nice to be able to do it like alongside my sister. And then what they did is, because they went in different schools, they actually then held a schools competition at Butts Park Arena in Coventry, where all the different schools got to play each other, and they all got different jerseys, whether you were like the Huskies or the Pink Panthers and all of that sort of stuff. So it started there. Piqued my interest from there, went to the Coventry Jets, and that's where I started playing officially.
Okay, so Coventry Jets was like a mix. Was that still a mixed team, or was that women's?
No, so they had a mixture of both. So it was a mixed team, but also they did set up a women's or like a youth women's team called the Huskies at the time as well. But when I started playing, if you wanted to play in the teams, you had to we were travelling to, where was it? I can't remember where I was, but it was so far away because it was like the only other team that you knew of that was playing it at that time. And yeah, so we did a lot of travelling initially to play because it's not like how you have teams very locally now. It was a lot less back then.
Yeah, because this must have been what, like early 2000s then, right? So yeah, oh gosh, yeah. So like proper early days
Yeah.
of going through it, because then you helped start the Coventry Cougars in 2009.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like, so what? How did that kind of come about for you?
So we got to a point when we were with Coventry Jets and a couple of things had like changed and whatnot, and me and my sister still wanted to play, and it was actually my mum's idea. She was like, okay, well, why don't we set up a team? And just like me, my mum, my dad, and my sister were like, sure, why not? Like, how hard can it be? So we had literally like one football that they'd obviously bought us to like practice with at home. We had no tags. My mum chopped up a tea towel and we put it in our pockets, and we had 4 of us, and we went up the park, Memorial Park in Coventry, one Sunday, and we're like, this is our first training session. So that was actually September the 9th, 2009. I've actually, on our 10-year anniversary, I got the tattoo of the date, because obviously it's a family thing as well, which is something that we got to do as a family unit, which is super nice. And yeah, then it just went from there, and now we're many years down the line, which is lovely.
Yeah, it must be really interesting running a family business, but like a sport business, if that makes sense. It must cause a interesting dynamic.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, it was almost like we used to have this ritual, and it'd be like we trained till 2 till 4, and then we always went to our local pub and had dinner as a family afterwards, and we'd like debrief how training went and like what do we need, and like yeah, it was interesting. Like, well, I have this idea and I have this idea, but you know, we got there, we made it work. So no, it was nice because it kind of kept us as a family unit as well, because obviously when you're growing up, you're not always interested in spending time with your parents, so it gave us something to have together.
No, my earpod's just falling out. That's hilarious. Sorry, I'll just put that back in so I can actually hear everybody. That's fine. We can cut that. Actually, do not leave that in. That's hilarious. So, do you kind of remember the moment? Was there like a specific moment when the Cougars started to really gain like traction? Like, do you remember when like all of a sudden people like turned up to play, or was it quite like a slow build?
I would say it was a long time ago now, but it was relatively quick, because obviously we knew a lot of people in the flag community, and I think where we trained maybe like could have been more local, and like players that had maybe like stopped playing like returned, and obviously it was something different, so being able to sort of like market that, and then we went into like schools as well. That's why I'm so big on like pushing the schools program, because that's how I started. Interesting for kids to be offered a different opportunity. But yeah, we went into primary schools and secondary schools, so it's interesting actually, because a couple of the Coventry Panther girls I actually coached at their school in Kenilworth, and also Grace, the likes of like Grace Conway, for example, she started because we went into her school, we did a presentation, she come after school, and she didn't want to do flag at first, let me tell you. We converted her, don't worry. And now, I mean, look, she's an absolute superstar, isn't she? So
yeah, I remember her saying, in the interview that we did with her, she was like, "Oh, they came to my school," and I was like, I wasn't really cared about it. I didn't really bother about it, but then I'm pretty good at it, and I was like, pretty good, pretty, just
yeah.
Yeah, I think we're kind of seeing just, I guess, Coventry being that hotbed for flag and women's flag in particular. So, I mean, you mentioned obviously Grace Conway just become captain for GB Women's Flag this year, and then of course you have the Coventry Panthers who won their first national championship back in March. So yeah, it's amazing just to show how all that kind of stems from some school sessions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like I say, I'm super big on pushing it through the schools, start them as young as possible, keep them interested. Like flag's got a position for everybody, and I will die on this hill. I thoroughly believe it has a position for everybody. So it's nice that it's so inclusive, and that's a perfect thing that you can take into a school. It's a sport that's inclusive for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, we're quite big advocates of it. Like Dan's mentioned it before, that like genuinely flag football is a game that anyone can pick up, and anyone just needs to learn the rules and can play it. It's not overly complex. It's not overly difficult. You run, catch, you block. Basic principles apply. So it's so good to hear, because I was, when I was speaking to Grace and Ellie, we were talking about how we didn't really have that options up here. Like when I was growing up, you kind of got told, okay, well, there's football, or there's hockey. And you're like, well, I don't like either of those, right? So what do you do? Or there was like athletics. And for somebody who was not a sprinter,
So what I love as well is that, so the likes of Fraser, Callum Woods, Kevin, Leon Fleming, I played against them when I was super young as well. We've got pictures of us like in a field in Scotland. I remember we hired this minibus and we left at like 4 o'clock in the morning and went to Glasgow to obviously play all you guys, and then we stayed overnight in a hotel and then drove back. And it is one of my earliest memories that I've got, and it is mad to me. Like at one point obviously Fraser was my DC, and then me and Callum are on the sideline supporting Sarah in Finland, like going absolutely crazy. And it's mad to think like how long we've actually known each other, and it's crazy that it all stemmed from playing something as what could be classed as so random as flag football.
And it's totally like having those people for the rest of your life, and you're like, oh my gosh, you'll be like in 20 years time from this, you'll be like, how the heck have we got here now, right? And that'll be really interesting to see the total journey that flag has continued to take, and you're a part of that. But I guess coming back to our timeline, so kind of by 2012 you're 15, and you make your debut for Great Britain women's team as defensive back.
Yes,
which is pretty incredible. Like, do you remember really anything in particular about stepping on that stage for the first time?
So it was a super crazy journey because like I was part of what was the Elite Women's Project, and that was essentially what we were until we got the official GB status. So I remember having like the EWP tops, and we used to train at Warwick and we'd play games about like against local men's teams and stuff. And the first GB jersey that I ever got given was a kitted jersey that someone had tailored into women's fit. I just remember it was number 47. Yeah, it was just mad, really, like going through the whole process of something that I'd played for so long, and then it was kind of like, oh, like you're getting an extra opportunity. And then obviously we went to Big Bowl in 2013, so I think I was only just allowed to play because I turned 16 like 2 weeks before. So that was like my first, it wasn't even my first international, but it was my first international for like Elite Women's Project. So that was super exciting because it was like, get on the main stage, like how are we going to do, you know, we're rocking up, we're in our GB jerseys and stuff. And it was lovely. So that was like one of my earlier memories. And then obviously we got the official status off the back of that. And next thing you know, it's like, you got the Euros in Madrid and you're going through that process of like trialing, there's more girls getting involved, you're waiting for that email to come through. But it's crazy to think like how we went from being a group of girls in Warwick all the way to where we are today. And it's actually quite nice to have been a part of that journey from the very beginning to see where it is now.
And yeah, just seeing all of the bumps in the road along the way and everything that comes with it. And I guess if we fast forward to 2023, because you have so much to talk about, so we have to like jump, I guess, on the way. And you're captain of Team GB, and you're leading the squad to gold at the European Championships, beating Spain 26-19 in the final. And what did that win mean to you? Because you've been, I mean, after more than a decade in the game.
Yeah, everything. It was an absolute honour to be named captain, and you know, like I wanted to do myself proud from my own journey. I wanted to do the team and like my family and friends all proud as well. And I think it was I'd been through the heartbreak of, you know, when we went to our first Euros, we're finishing like second to last and we're celebrating the fact we won one game, to going all the way to Israel in 2019 and we're the underdogs against Austria and we pull off that massive win. And obviously how we lost to Spain in the final was super difficult because it was like, this is someone we've beaten the group stage, like we can absolutely do this. So it was kind of like a full circle moment again where it was like, actually this is the time. And you know what's really weird, like I just had this feeling in my gut, and I would never take it for granted. Obviously I'd always go on and give my all, but it almost helped me feel relaxed because it was like, now's the time, you know what you've got to do. You got 40 minutes, you give everything no matter what. This is the time. And obviously the World Cup football was on at the time as well, and it was England versus Spain. And I remember the coaches saying, like, do what you need to do to prepare, but obviously, like, we have our own final against Spain to be thinking about. And obviously, you know, like that last play of the game was all very stressful and stuff like that. And it just like, it was slow motion. Like, I'm like, why is the clock going so slowly in this game? And then like when the whistle goes and it was just like everyone goes crazy and you're like, oh my god, like we've done something massive here. Like this is, we're the first GB team to, you know, like in flag to come away with that gold medal. Like, this is what a feeling. Like, there's just no words to describe it. And then it's like, for me, I was like, where's my mum and dad? Like, where are we?
Seen I was actually watching the feed from the final last night from 2023 Euros, and I think you actually almost forgot to take the trophy. Someone had to say, would you like to come and get your prize?
You are literally just like on a different planet. It's so crazy. Like, I could probably have felt drunk in that moment, because I'm just like, you're so mentally and physically exhausted, but you're also on the most crazy high. And then like, you're just trying to like process like, oh, like we need to stick together, like we need to get a medal. But then at the same time, you're like, you want to see your family. And then you also, I'm like, oh my God, I want to bev. Like, I just want to speak to everyone. And it was just like carnage. And you know what? GB men were fantastic. Like, the support was absolutely phenomenal, but it was just the most surreal moment. And it's a moment that I will never, ever forget. And it's obviously by far one of my top memories of flag, and being able to win that as a captain in my playing career, I can't ask for much more than that.
I was going to ask you, but you pretty much answered it. Like, it was, if you did have a moment, and obviously you said like you were, when as the tournament went on, you were like, oh, actually, like I actually think we could do this, and you go to the last game and you go, oh, okay, like maybe we actually could do it. Was it that purely in that last game you've kind of figured, okay, we've actually got this, or was there any other inkling before then of being like, we might do it?
I think the loss to Czech that we had in the group stage is the best thing that could have happened to us, because it gave us a kick up the backside that we definitely needed, because it was like, look how we feel now. Do we want this feeling again? We know what it feels like to lose in a final, for those that had been to Israel and whatnot. And it's like, we built and worked so hard for it, because obviously it's our first time back on the international stage in such a long time, after not being able to go to the Worlds because of COVID and stuff. So it was like, and because we hadn't been seen, I think people maybe counted us out a little bit as well. So it was like, if we're coming back, we're coming back with a bang. And I do think that like the way we were able to progress through was probably the better side for us to be able to progress through to the final. But yeah, I think we had that loss, and then we come back firing, and it was like, what, like, of course we can go all the way, like we can absolutely do this. And I think it was just a belief in the team and the unit that we had, of like, absolutely, this is our time to take it, and if anyone's going to stop us, it's going to be ourselves that stop us. We're not going to let anyone else take this from us.
So, yeah, I think it just shows this kind of the team camaraderie as well, because if you can bounce back from a loss to then go on and win is pretty special, and just shows how the team works together, gels together. You're all supporting each other. You're all picking each other up if something's gone wrong, which is a testament, obviously, to what you guys have created and what everybody else has created around you.
Yeah, and you know what, we had a lot of time to build that as a unit, but it's so important, because it's understanding what each other needs. Does someone need a pat on the back? Does someone need 5 minutes alone? Does someone need you to stand doing crazy dance for them to cheer them up, or whatever? Like, what do our teammates need? But also it's that time where we set time to be like, look, we're having player time now, so coaches, you're not invited, you're not involved. Like, we need to be a collective as players, as without the coaching staff, so you can feed back to the coaches afterwards, like whatever you needed. But it's also that time to understand each other on a more personal level. Like, we sat in one of the dorms and we couldn't find a bowl, so we had a saucepan, and we got everyone to write like a fact about themselves on a piece of paper, and we put it in the bowl, and you all took one out and you had to read it out, and then you had to guess who that was about. And that was just like such a minor thing, but it was just such a good game to be able to like understand people a little bit better, and like and then all the stories that come off the back of it, and you get close in that time because you're spending so much time together. It's nice for you to bond off field, and then as soon as you get onto field, that bond shows, and it did show for us in that European Championships, that's for sure.
It's in the prize. It shows right there, doesn't it? And then in 2024, so the team heads off to the World Championships, but this time you're on the sidelines instead of on the field. And how did it feel to kind of shift into a support role, especially because you obviously had captained them the year before, you'd gone on for the gold? How did that feel, that kind of shift for you?
It was hard. And it was harder because it wasn't my choice. Like, obviously, I'd been selected to go to Finland. I was ready to go. My surgery come about very quickly, unexpectedly as well. And then it was like, oh, by the way, you're having major surgery. I had 4 incisions. You've got 7 weeks to recover. I'm like, maybe not. So, I mean, I tried, I rested, I did what I can, but obviously during that time, it's not like I could be on field or in the gym or I was super fragile. And obviously mentally, that's really difficult because I was trying to wrap my head around everything that I'd been through in such a short space of time. But then I was also conscious that I needed to be ready for a world championships. And then when I went to see my surgeon, it was like, you're not going, like, you can't go. And that was crushing because although I know that it's the right decision, I was never going to accept it lightly. And that was super hard because I actually planned to retire after the World Championships. So I wanted that as kind of like my last hurrah. And I feel like that got taken away from me. And I and ahed for weeks. I think I booked my flight a week and a half before, because I was going back and forth, like I really want to be there for the girls, but also like mentally what's best for me. But I'm very much GB through and through, and some of my best friends are on that team, and I would always be 100% supportive of them. And I flew out with Grace's parents, and they looked after me. They were amazing. I think I actually took to it like a duck to water because I'm like a foghorn. So being on the sideline, being able to cheer away, I was having a great time. Obviously, it was quite stressful to not be able to like be with the girls all the time and like be like actively involved. But yeah, I mean, I was super proud of them, and anything I could do to support them off the field or whatever I was available for. I'd like to think they feel the same. Yeah, it was a tough trip. Personally,
Yeah.
it was very hard.
Yeah, I can only imagine how, especially because you build up for it for so long to then have it taken so quickly is horrible. And you're right there, like, it wasn't your choice. And then I guess when you came to December, when it and was announced that you were retiring from GB Women's Flag, was there ever a part of you that was like, oh, maybe I could stay for a little bit longer, maybe I could hold it off, or did you just know that that was your time?
Yeah, I knew. I think obviously I was ill behind the scenes a lot more than what people probably would know or realize, and that's why beforehand I decided, like, that was my last hurrah. I'm ending on my terms and stuff like that. That unfortunately got robbed from me. So I was kind of like prepared for that in a way anyway, because I was like, it's going to be my time. My body, if I could still be a GB right now playing, I would absolutely be doing it. But unfortunately, I'm in a position where my body just doesn't allow me to do that, which is also a hard pill to try and swallow, especially like, as an athlete. It's like it's hard to go from being at like peak and doing all these things to just not being able to do it. And it's like mentally I could still do it, physically it's very frustrating. So yeah, and then obviously I got offered the opportunity that I did. So I'm extremely grateful for that, because it allowed me to step into a different kind of role, to be able to give what I can back to the programme as well that I was in for so long.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to move on from your story personally, and we're going to kind of talk about general what it's kind of been like for you being a woman and playing kind of an elite sport level. So obviously, as we've mentioned, you've been involved in flag football since 2009, and what do you think's kind of changed from 2009 till now, kind of about the support and visibility for women kind of in this sport?
Yeah, I think even when I first started, like, majority of the teams were male dominated anyway. Like, there was like, you'd turn up and you'd be like one of the only females, if not the only female, and it'd be like, there is just no representation here whatsoever. And even like on coaching staff now, like, it's very rare that you see female coaching staff, and it was exactly the same back then. So what was difficult growing up is like when you're going through like your hormones, your body changes, you start in your period and stuff like that, and you're surrounded by males. It's very hard in that environment to kind of thrive, because it's not like you've got someone that you're looking up to that's like been there, done it, and that was very difficult. So I think the fact that we've evolved to having like a women's, like when we first got the first women's league, like that was amazing, because it was like, look at all these women playing, and it was a big step in the league, and it's like creates more opportunities as well. And obviously with the push of then getting GB women's, and you know, you're getting support staff, and there's more accessible to you now in regards to like women's health and sports bras and like nutritional stuff around that. Like we just get better and better and better, which is nice to see, because there was a time when it probably wasn't even thought about. And I think the growth has been fantastic, and I'd like to see more women's teams entering the women's league. And obviously I know that we're getting more around like flag teams for uni as well, but if we can push to get flag leagues in schools for girls and stuff like, there's still a long way for us to go, but from where we were to having one girl turn up at a tournament to having multiple girls in teams to all girls teams, it's we've made big strides, which is positive.
It's really, it's pretty special to have watched it. I mean, I've only been like really following flag for the past like year, and it's even now seeing it and what it's done and what it's continuing to doing is pretty special. So I can't even imagine how you feel about almost 20 years, not to age you, but almost 20 years in it, to see it growing. Yeah. Do you feel like there's ever been a time where you've kind of felt maybe like dismissed or like underestimated just because you were, especially when you were younger, you were like the only woman and surrounded by men?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Because like even like if I was ever playing an offense, they don't mark you because you're a girl, because they're like, oh well, what are you gonna do? Or like, or you're just invisible to them, like they don't even know that you're there. There were definitely instances like that, or like when we played in like the mixed men's league, it's very much like, well, you can't keep up. And then like you would do something, you would get like a good flag, or you'd pat down a ball and you'd be like, yeah, hi, I'm here. I'm here to humble you. Yeah, I mean, obviously that doesn't always happen, but yeah, it's nice when the moments do happen. And I think it's a lot different now. I think now that, you know, there is more visibility for women in the league, there's not so much of that anymore. But definitely, especially when I started, it was very much like, oh well, they've got a girl on the team, so pick on the girl. And yes, I've definitely been in them decisions as well, where you've kind of just been like, oh, you're not going to do anything, we're not interested in you, essentially, or we're going to pick you.
Yeah, obviously, I think everyone's kind of seeing you come now, because you've got amongst the many hats you're wearing, of course, you're in the Outlaw Flag League as well with your team. It shows your TDs. I think finished second in the regular season.
Yeah, I can confirm we played 6 games on Saturday in 6 40-minute games. It was horrific in the pouring rain. It was classic flag football weather. But yeah, we finished second, which is really nice. And you know, it's nice to play and like have an enjoyment of flag from all the many hats that I wear. But obviously there's a lot of females playing in mixed teams there, which is super nice as well, because you know, when you do look at the mixed league, majority of them are full male teams. So it's nice to see like even like the odd 1 or 2 girls like in that league as well. Horrifying moment I had at OFL this weekend though is that I was playing against a player, and I'd been playing flag football longer than they'd been alive, and I'm not even in my 30s yet, and I was like, oh my god. Yeah.
They were like, no.
I was like, oh, let's not repeat.
That's nice. Let's not talk about that again. I can't believe you're not even in your 30s. I was gonna do this on the pod. I was gonna egg check you afterwards, but oh my god, you're younger than me. Yeah. See, we need to stop having these people on who have done so much, and I'm sitting here like, yes, here I go. But no, yeah, I mean, yeah. No, there's always time, right? There's always time. And then you can obviously mentioned it earlier, kind of about being like having like a figure to look up to, or like a role model, especially like a female role model. Not to put the pressure on you, but you've kind of almost stepped into being that kind of visible figure in flag football, not just for playing, but kind of for what you stand for. Have you kind of felt any like pressure for that, or has it just kind of come naturally to you?
Well, thank you for saying that. I don't really know, because like people do say that to me, and I'm just like, oh, like it's really nice, but I don't know. For me, I've been around for such a long time that for me, it's just like I want everyone to have the opportunities that I had, and I'm very open about like my health issues and stuff like that, because 1, I'm like, why does it need to be taboo? And 2, like we're gonna have so many women and we want to create opportunities for young girls and women, but these are things that they are factors that they're going to have to contend with. And if they've got no one to be able to talk to about it, or no one that understands, they might get to a point where they're like, oh well, like I can't do it anymore, or like it's about building their confidence and showing them that like you can push through them hardships to get to wherever you want to be. And I think I never had that. Like, I never had anyone that I could look at and be like, oh, like, you're in my shoes. Like, if I looked up to anyone, it was like male players or male coaches. Obviously, a big one for me is obviously I had my sister. So I would look at my sister and what she was doing, like, yeah, I want to do that. But so many girls don't have that. So, yeah, it is really nice to be like that. I guess sometimes I have felt a little bit of pressure when I've been, like, playing or coaching where people are maybe like, oh, well, like, look at everything you've done. But I don't see it that way. I just kind of like, what can I do to help you? Like, what can I do to make you feel more confident? Like, what can, like, I think that's why I share a lot as well, because every time I do share something, I get someone different message me and be like, can I ask you this question? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like, we should be supporting each other. And if I can help you in any way, even if it's outside of football, that makes you more confident in football, I'm all over it, because I never had that, and I want the opportunity for girls and women to have what I never had. And if I have to be that person, I will happily be that person. Absolutely.
And your point of view and your train of thought on that is why you're in that position, just as an FYI. Exactly what you just said is why people have put you in that mindset. Exactly what you just said. And kind of with everything you were balancing, so like your elite sport health, like your leadership, your life, your like, I like to call it like a civilian job. Like what's helped you kind of like manage it all and like stay grounded throughout everything?
My family, they are very, very good at like bringing me back to earth. My boyfriend is crazy supportive. He's been amazing. But also, like, I have to switch off from it. Like, I'm quite conscious of like time restrictions on people's lives. So like, even when we have a call, I'm like, right, if we can, we're capping it at an hour, because you've got families, you've got lives, you've got a job. And I've 100% been there where I've got football burnout and I'm like, I absolutely hate this sport. Like, why am I doing it? Because I was just so overwhelmed. And I think that forced me to create barriers that I needed to create to actually still have that enjoyment. I'm conscious of that for other people as well. But my dog is my absolute world. So I think like it is the, like you say, civilian stuff that does help keep you grounded, because it's very much like, you know, I'll finish training, but then it's like, oh, actually, you need to get your work bag ready and you need to get your lunch ready, and you want to go on this flag trip, you got to go to work to pay the bills, to pay for that flag trip. And just like even little stuff like it's, you know, like having the dog, being able to walk the dog and kind of like unwind down from everything. I think, yeah, I think life helps keep me grounded. I think I'm so busy constantly that like I have to give myself them barriers, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, it must be funny when you go to the office because you're not like Kellie the football player. It's like Kellie in the office. Like it's Kellie in the office coming to annoy me about something. Like which must be quite nice, because you don't, and then gives you that break to be like, hey, this is like my normal life.
Yeah, and it is, and you know what, the people that I work with, they're super supportive, like, and they're so encouraging. And it's funny because they're like, what are you doing this weekend? I'm like, football. And then like now they get to the point where they're like, do you have a free weekend, or is it football again? But actually, while we were at the European Championships in 2023, they put it on the telly in the office, and they all watch, which is like super amazing. And like they'd like send me flowers after we won champs and stuff like that. So I do have to say they are absolutely fantastic in that. They're super supportive, so that helps as well. But it's actually nice to go to the office and have like conversations about different things, because like my boyfriend's involved in American football, my family are actively involved, like all my friends are actively involved, and it's like I can talk about something else here. We can have like, I'm like, what are you having for lunch? Like, tell me.
I was gonna say you're the classic office chat of what are you doing? What are you doing tonight? What are you watching? What TV are you watching?
Yeah. What's going on in your life? What TV series watching? I'm that person. Like,
don't ask me what's going on in my life. I don't want to talk about it. Let's just talk about you for a minute, Sandra. Come on, let's go.
100%. Yeah. That is it.
Yeah. And then with kind of flag football growing at the speed it is currently going, especially with things like the NFL Girls Flag League, and now we're kind of pushing towards LA 2028. Do you feel like women's flag in the UK is like finally kind of getting that recognition it deserves?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so nice to have like the women's team like pioneering a lot of the flag football space as well. I think that that's really great, and I think the uptake that we're seeing is fantastic. And obviously, I'm lucky enough to get the opportunity to see them from like under 13s, under 15s, and 17s, and see that pathway coming through. And I think it's exciting because like you see an athlete with real talent, and you're like, this is a player that you're preparing to get into that squad for the Olympics, and it's exciting. And obviously, it's like something massive for our sport. We still have a long way to go. You know, we've got to be developing females early doors that isn't just forcing them to blitz. We've got to be teaching them other positions, because otherwise, you know, they're going to get to you come into GB and you're teaching them stuff that ideally they know at club level. You know, we have to start getting that pathway right. But yeah, it's crazy exciting, and I'm so glad to see like other women from other sports wanting to get involved as well. Is always nice, because like netballers could transition very easily into these roles, but also just the fact that women and girls want to play this sport as well is yeah, it's fun. I'm loving this period of flag right now.
Yeah, for sure. Do you? I saw that you obviously there was an article the BBC did like last year with. I mean, I can talk about it because I am a Taylor Swift fan. I'm not a Chiefs fan, but I'm a Taylor Swift fan. Do you think that genuinely has had an impact on girls taking up flag football?
Well, yeah, it's going to have, isn't it? Because a lot of them girls probably wouldn't have been, they might not even be interested in sport. And then obviously she's come along and put it out there, shall we say. But whether it's got them more into flag football, I couldn't say for certain, but I would say it's had an impact. I wouldn't say it'd be as big as maybe what people say. But yeah, I'd imagine a handful of girls, maybe a bit more, have gone, I want to do that, because Taylor
I
Swift
do
likes
that,
it.
yeah. Oh, yeah, because even an interest into watching the sport in a capacity that's maybe not obviously flag, but they're watching contact, and maybe they're going, "Oh, is there anything I can do?" And then it trickles down from that.
Absolutely.
So
And it doesn't even have to be in a player capacity, like you say. It's just like even creating like that bigger fan base of getting women involved and supporting in our sport. You can't go wrong with that. I have to say, I'm not a big Swiftie fan. So every time she'd come on the screen, I'd be like, oh, I'm
there she
trying
is again.
to.
I suppose it's one of these things that, I mean, maybe it starts with Taylor Swift, but hopefully it's kind of leading to, well, actually, it's your Ellie Thorpes, your Grace Conways, Vanita Crouches, Cody Fullers, and so on, that actually, as that profile starts to snowball, I think, to be fair, in the States, they're already doing a really good job of that and getting the faces out there. We've seen a number of the US women's team, and actually Diana Flores as well from Mexico, visiting a lot of the NFL teams over the course of the last year. But actually, I think bringing that back into Europe and thinking, well, we're already reigning European champions as it stands, got the World Games, we've got the defence of the Euros crown coming up, you can just get more and more of these faces out there, then that's what's going to help to widen the net.
Absolutely, it's a domino effect, and at the end of the day, it's free marketing, really, isn't it? So absolutely, we'll take it and like run with it, 100%. Like anything that we can do to promote it, get girls actively encouraged in it, absolutely, got to roll with stuff like that. And it's like you say, it's a big platform. Like there's a huge platform that she's got to have it promoted on and like encourage into that space.
We've got to take anything that we can get. Anything. Even Kelly will not be playing any of her tunes, but that doesn't matter. She will take anything that she can get. Just need to have a Swifty day and just like have you can just wear earplugs or something. It'll be fine. Let's talk a little bit. You kind of hinted it earlier, but let's talk for a little bit about kind of your journey with endometriosis. So have you kind of growing up, were you kind of always aware that something maybe wasn't, and I hate to use the word normal because there's no like normal cycle really, particularly, but was there anything for you that wasn't normal that was kind of a red flag almost for you?
Yeah, pretty much instantly. I mean, I started my menstrual cycles at a really young age. I was 11, which is very young to have that kind of scare. And then even off the back of that, kind of straight away, I had problems which I probably always just assumed was normal, but really struggled being really heavy. I'd have to leave school. It'd be like first period and I'd just be a state. And then even trying to like play flag football, it's like you're in an all boys team and I'm having like all of these problems. And then it's like I went to the doctors with my mom and they're like, I'm 14 years old, and they're like, go on the pill, and then that affects your weight, affects how you feel, and like all this other stuff, and you just kind of fobbed off. I think it took me over 11 years for a diagnosis. And it was actually my sister that said to me about endometriosis. I was just very much like, oh God, like I struggle. And then I'd be like speaking to my friends and they'd be like, oh, like I'm fine, like, or like I get the odd cramp. And there's me, I'm like being sick and like having hot flushes and I can't get out of bed. And I'm like, why am I different? Like, I don't, like, why is it so bad for me? And my sister said, like, she was talking to someone one day and they said, oh, like, it sounds like she's got endometriosis. And my sister texted me, like, have you ever heard of it? Like, so I did a bit of research and, like, when it was coming up with all the symptoms, I was like, I have every single one of these symptoms. But, I mean, I was in my 20s by this point, so I had suffered something chronic for years and just had to get on with it because there was no other option for me. And I, like I said, just been fobbed off. And then I got pushed through the referral system and actually had an awful time with that as well. Because, and I tell everyone this, I'm very open about this. When I seen my first gynecologist before my first surgery, she said to me, you'll probably find that you don't have endometriosis. You'll probably find there's nothing wrong with you. Maybe you've just got trap wind. That's what they're the words that she spoke to me. And I remember being in the appointment and thinking, I think I would know if I had trap wind. But they genuinely gaslight you into thinking like you're being crazy or you're being dramatic. And then you're going home and you're like, but I know I suffer. Am I being dramatic? And then I went in for my surgery, my first one, and this was in 2022. Come out of the operation, it was like, yeah, you've got endometriosis and you have something called adenomyosis as well. And then 6 months later, and then it was like, we'll put you on the coil. Another traumatic story that put me into false labor. There was all this horrible stuff off the back of it. And it was just, for me, it was just like trauma after trauma after trauma. I went to my follow-up appointment 6 months later on my own to find out that my left ovary was tethered. And then they basically said to me like, oh, like you're gonna struggle with your fertility. And I'm sat in this appointment by myself like, well, why didn't I find out this after my surgery? Like, how does this affect my life? Because then obviously for me, it's like, well, I want to play football. I want to play to a high level. I want a career. Do I have to think about freezing my eggs? What's the cost of that? Like, do I have to have another surgery? And there's just so many things going through my mind. So actually football was a nice escape for me. Although sometimes it was hard, like I'd go to GB camps and I'd be speaking to Ellie, the physio, and I'd be like, oh, can you set a timer? Because I need to take 6 pills at this time. And I'd be running around with a TENS machine on. And it's horrible because I always had male coaches. And it literally got to the point where I was like, I don't care. Like, I have to say something. Like, I am suffering. And you know what? They were fantastic. And they did so much to support me. Personalised S&C plans, like regular check-ins. Like, they were genuinely fantastic. But yeah, I mean, I didn't get any better off the back of my surgery, unfortunately, and got more and more poorly kind of as the next year, 2 years went on, up until last year when I had quite a terrifying moment when I actually hemorrhaged. And completely out of the blue, I drove myself to the doctors and I was like, I think I'm really unwell, like this is what's happening. And they were like, you need to be in hospital, like you need a transfusion. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm in the hospital and it's like, take these pills, it's just your endometriosis, go home. But then after that I was like super poorly because like my blood pressure was so low, I'd lost so much blood, like I could barely stand up. Like, it's, you know, this, I know this is a lot of information, it might be TMI for some people, but this is genuinely like the battle that I went through. But at the same time, I'm trying to go to the gym, I'm trying to go to GB camps, I'm trying to prepare for European tournaments and everything like that, and I'm trying to process all this at the same time and actually be an elite athlete. So it was extremely difficult, and a lot of people didn't see behind the scenes of like how poorly I actually was, and I don't think I realised how poorly I actually was. And luckily for me, my grandparents said like, enough is enough, like you can't go on like this, and sent me to the endometriosis clinic. It's a private clinic, and literally within the space of like 4 weeks I'd had an MRI. And I remember I went with my mum to the appointment, and I knew I wasn't well. I probably wasn't expecting the level of what they were going to tell me, but bless my mum, like when he went through my results, she just cried because she was like, I knew you were ill, but I just can't believe it. And I'd been told I had 3 compromised organs, my bladder, my bowel, my kidney. And it was like, how are you going to work every day? Like, how are you going to the gym? Like, and it's just one of the things for so long that I just got on with, because to me, it was everyday life. It was normal, and it's so not normal. And then it was like, you need major surgery in like a month. And I was like, okay, well, stressful actually. I went in and, I had some complications. I needed a procedure 2 weeks afterwards. It turned out not just my ovary was stuck, but my fallopian tube was stuck as well. And they'd actually said to me before that, there's a chance that if we can't save it, it's going to be removed altogether. So obviously that was another moment that I needed to process. And then they were like, oh, well, I had bowel endometriosis, and it's like, we need bowel surgery. So there's a potential that you could have a bag. And then it's just like, you're trying to comprehend all these things, but then I'm like, well, actually, I need to be in the gym tomorrow because I've got the Worlds coming up, so actually it's really inconvenient. But I was just so ill, and it was just like, oh my God, like, why is my body basically shutting down on me? And it's mad, because it's a disease that's very under-researched, very underfunded, and it's a shame because actually so many women suffer with it. And, I have cysts and stuff like that. You name it, I've probably got it. I suffer. But, when I was going into it with my consultant, he said, like, you've got stage 4, it's deep infiltrating, so it actually affects your tendons and your ligaments. And I'm like, oh, well, like, actually, I've been quite lucky with, like, obviously I've had injuries, but I'm quite lucky in the fact that, with all of that going on as well, I've not had, touch wood, anything too major. So yeah, that's the shortened version, I guess, of a lot of trauma in a short space of time. And it was very scary, and I think sport did help me through that, because it's made me very resilient and very motivated, and I have a fantastic support system around me. But, it has taken a lot from me as well. But, people suffer with these things every single day. Like, when people think about endometriosis, they're automatically like, oh, well, it's about periods, so I don't want to know. But it's not. It's actually a full body disease. Men can get it. Like, there's so much that people don't realise about it. And, I speak to girls all the time that say, oh, like, I've been diagnosed with this, or I'm having my first surgery, and like, what shall I take in my hospital bag? And it's like, it's so sad that, like, people don't have that support, and, there's not always that knowledge around it. So that's why I'm quite open about it, because I think, like, especially now, if I'm coaching young girls, they're going to be having some of these problems, and I want them to know that if they're struggling at camp, if they are struggling in general, if they've got an appointment coming up, they're frightened about it, like, if they want to, like, I'm absolutely here to be all ears. But I'm also here to tell you that, like, if you want to get to GB and you're concerned that you have these problems, you can absolutely do it. And, there is support that can be put in place for you to help you get there. And I think, like, that's probably one of the biggest reasons why I share it. Like, we need to be empowering these girls to understand that, yes, as well as, like, you having this going on, you 100% can do anything that you put your mind to, and we'll figure it out for you along the way. So yeah, that's.
Yeah, wow. I can't even, like, fathom, like, when we were speaking to Olivia, I was talking about how there was, obviously there's studies that show, like, it's obviously this isn't about endo specifically, but this is just about general kind of being a woman and having reproductive organs and that kind of sense, and how you have to shift what your body's doing at different points in order to obviously help you with that. And there was somebody that came out and said, it doesn't actually have an impact. And I went, well, that's a lie. And just because you don't feel that impact does not mean that somebody else doesn't feel that impact. So it's like, you can walk it. So, like, it's a Monday morning, you can do everything the same that you've done the night before. You can walk into the gym and you can pick up a 12 kg dumbbell and you can swing it about your head. Fine, dandy, go home. You can do it at the same time, all the same bits, and you can't pick it up.
Yeah. And it is crazy. And it's like, I did a talk at the coaching convention recently, and I was actually talking into the fact that men's hormones generally reset within like a 24 to 48 hour basis, whereas we're on average 28 days. And I think, like, there's so much to that. And obviously there's risk of injuries that increase. Like, I remember the statistic, there was like a whole football team at the Women's World Cup that were out with like ACL injuries. And it's like, the fact that football boots are generally made for males and like our hip placement and stuff is not factored into these designs. There's so much that like could be researched and like needs to be done. And it's like, for us, it's a reality that we just kind of get on with. But actually, these are things that we need. And if we're going to perform, we also need the tools to be able to perform. So yeah, it is crazy. And I think that was a big thing for me as well. Like the perception generally, like when you, like if you met me, you'd probably be like, oh, like she's very healthy. You know, she does all these things, and it's actually not true. Like I could do a gym session, do some deadlifts, and that would give me a flare up, and I'd be like, well, I can't move anymore. But yeah, like so many women will face this, and there's times where like you're trying to be an elite athlete, and you just like in that time of your cycle or whatever phase you're in, where you're just like, I have no motivation. I'm so tired. I feel so unwell, and it's like my body just physically, like you say, you could have been getting a PB 2 days before, and then you're just like, yeah,
nope,
it's not happening today.
Can't do that today. I want to go home. I want to go lie in my bed, which is fine. And I think also people, like girls, need to be taught that that's okay to stop. If you have to stop, you have to stop, and it's not. There's nobody's looking down on you or thinking less of you because you have to take that time out to go. Actually, do you know what? I'm not in the right headspace. I'm not in the right mental load, because it's a mental load, even just in general, even without having kind of any other issues on top of, you know, having a period. Your mental capacity hits the floor at some points, and you go, I can't see what I'm doing. I can't think about anything. And some people need to know that it's okay to stop.
It's got to be
okay,
doesn't it?
Yeah. It has to be talked about to do it, because no one talks about it, which is the problem, because everybody's been told, oh no, we can't talk about it.
Yeah,
we can't talk about it. And I'm like, just talk about it. It's fine. Like we all do it. Like anybody, like, yeah.
And you're human at the end of the day. Like you are human. You are gonna have days like that. Like it's absolutely normal, and you know it's not gonna stint your progress. You know, deciding that actually, whether it's like I need a rest day, I need a mental health day, I need a day where I just like not thinking about anything. That is absolutely fine. And for athletes, that it should be normalized, because there's enough pressure internally and externally as it is. So yeah, it is an important topic to reiterate, definitely.
For sure. Well, I thank you for being so open and honest about it. I hope anybody who's listening, it doesn't matter, even if people who don't play, like if you are going through something that you know is not right, and it's so difficult because you do get fobbed off by doctors, and people tell you, oh, it's fine, take this, you'll be okay. Like if something is wrong, like please just try and keep pushing for it. I'm not telling anybody to go private, because that I know people who have had, I was speaking to Kellie about it, and I know somebody who's gone through surgery and she had to go private because it was the only way that she could get it done. And it's absolutely nuts. But if anybody's listening who is doing research into it, please just keep doing it, because it is really an important topic to continue to push out. So yes, so thank you again for sharing all that, because it's not nice reliving medical trauma either. It's not a nice experience.
Yeah, no, but you know, I'm grateful to be a year down the line, and you know, it's not cured, it never goes away, unfortunately, and I am still going through treatment and process of trying to recover and whatnot. And you know, it's a battle that I'm going to talk about, because well, one, it keeps me sane, and two, like if it can help anyone else, absolutely it needs to be spoke about. But yeah, just 100% advocate for yourself, and yeah, find that support system wherever it may be, because it will help get you through, that's for sure.
For sure. Well, I'm going to now open the door for Gav to come back in. Gav has very kindly been very quiet, which has been
rightly quiet. I think, I mean, speaking about endometriosis in particular, it's something that I know a little bit of just from colleagues that have been affected with it previously, but it's still a very limited knowledge, other than just, I guess, understanding at a very high level how severely that can impact the individual. So, you know, I think for me, just to be able to sit and listen and, you know, understand your journey, the things that we should be aware of, and how we can support others, it's been phenomenal, Kellie. And yeah, I think that the fact that you've been able to, you know, you were continuing to train as a GB athlete, you were keeping, you know, all your professional plates, your family plates spinning, I guess just, speaks to, your competitive spirit. And I guess that's something that still keeps going because, as we've already touched on, you were named at the end of last year as, well, first of all, the head coach of the GB under-21s, and now actually the head coach for GB youth as a whole. So obviously you've had that, I guess, that slightly sped up retirement from GB as a player. What did that feel like? I guess, did that help the transition moving into coaching as quickly as you did?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd done some work with coaching. We did some like all girls development days for GB women. So I sort of did that and worked with Sheffield Giants on development days and stuff. And obviously I'd been coaching at Cougars and stuff. So I'd always had like my toe in coaching at the same time. So it wasn't so scary in that respect, but also it did help me process the retirement thing because it was like, as much as I wasn't ready to leave GB yet, or didn't get to leave on my own terms, it allowed me to still be part of the program and part of the setup and actually still be passionate about that program. So I think it did really help me transition because it was very much like I still have so much knowledge and so much that I want to give that I can give it through other athletes now rather than having to give it myself. So yeah, 100% helped that transition.
We've already seen this already, but you really don't do things by half measures because not only are you head coaching the GB under-21 men, but you have a pair of under-17 teams and now an under-15 team and an under-13 team all under your remit. So I guess as much as there's been announcements, but do you maybe want to just, I guess, tell us a little bit more? Because I know that Sarah and I need a bit of explanation before the show in terms of what your role is going to look like across those multiple programs.
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely been a wild ride. I started with one team and then, now have five because why have one where you can have five? Very extra. So with the 21s, Alan Young very kindly offered me the opportunity, which was super exciting. Was actually offered another opportunity within the program as well, but I had always coached women. And I'd always kind of been around the women. So actually taking the under-21s role for me was actually very out of my comfort zone. And it was very much like, well, if you're going to do it, throw yourself in the deep end. And I was so excited when, he was going through his vision with me. So I'm so grateful to Alan for, giving me that opportunity and trusting me with his baby essentially. But yeah, that was scary. Like I say, I remember that first trial, it was very much like, well, a lot of these aren't going to know who I am. And also a couple of the parents said to me afterwards, like, oh, they didn't even know what to expect with like a female head coach. Obviously we've got Robin in at DC and we've got Jay in at OC, both extremely experienced. And then we've got Ryan McKeveney, also known as Home Alone, or as the 21s affectionately call him Malone, in the setup now. So we have a fantastic group of staff. And to be fair, like my role within the 21s is very much like, well, I'm the vibes coach. I bring the vibes to camp because the work that the coaches do with them is absolutely phenomenal. So I'm very much there to kind of like head up everything, do the organisation, and get the team ready for whatever they need, and obviously support the coaches in whatever they need as well. And then obviously with the youth program, we've got all of the teams, so kind of like overseeing that, what the teams need individually, schemes, all that sort of stuff. We've got like team leads for each team, offensive, defensive coordinators and assistant coaches. So, I mean, there's a lot that churns behind the scenes of like stuff that we need to do, because also I'm very aware that we never really had a clear pathway between youth and adults before in the GB program. So it was things like implementing the same language, sending some of the older age, like high potential players to Sunday camps with like either the 21s or the women, so that transition is less scary, and also they get the opportunity to like meet the players and stuff. So I guess I've kind of, in my role, kind of taken it upon myself to kind of smooth out that pathway throughout GB. But yeah, we've had a big focus on like coach development as well, and trying to offer my experience as like a player that's played at a high level into what the coaching staff can give to the players from obviously having that perspective of a player playing at that level, and obviously going through the transition from, I mean, I did cadet football all the way to adults, so kind of seen that pathway through. So yeah, my role is very much overseeing everything, shall we say, and I'm very lucky to say that I have fantastic staff in place, and like all credit goes to them. Guess I'm here for the ride. I'm here to offer any help that, you know, like I can give, any opportunities that I can give as well. Like obviously we've brought in more female staff because I think that's massively important to have that representation there, which is huge. But yeah, James Hegarty's the assistant head of the program. Danika's been fantastic with everything. I think she does so much behind the scenes that people don't realize. And then we've got Jay Bellamy, who's been doing like the performance lead of like helping with like all the playbooks, as well as being the OC and like player development and coaching development. And all of the staff have like, they're fantastic. So all my credit goes to them. I guess I'm in a position to give them whatever we need to succeed, both at the youth level that transitions into adult as well.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, unsurprisingly, I mean, there's so many different roles that you can got there. There's a lot to unpack, but the one thing that actually really jumped out to me is, you know, I think most of us can see that the importance of the youth programs in terms of providing that pipeline for the players, but actually something you touched on as well is the importance of the coaching setup, and even the other roles that come around, you know, the physios and the nutritionists and the sports psychologists that, you know, are so important for the senior men's and women's programs. Actually, it's how you develop all these other pieces around that to help prepare people to step in and fill that role, because they are voluntary roles, and, you know, life happens, and it's how we have that continuity and that continuous improvement.
Yeah, 100%. And it's, you know what, you can never stop learning. I know, you know, like I've been around the block, but I don't know it all, not by any stretch of the imagination. So, you know, it's I've learned a lot throughout this journey. I hope the coaches have been able to develop from where they were to where they started. But I think we also have a unique view in that there's a lot of coaches that either maybe have not played before or have played and then gone into a coach, but maybe not at GB level. Whereas I've got the experience of knowing what frustrated me as a player and what I wanted from my coaches and what I wanted from a head coach. And in all these different roles, or what I needed in extra support from like sports psychiatrists and whatnot, to then hopefully put it into the setup that we've got now. You know, there's a lot that we can do to improve, but I think we've made big strides in what we've done already, which is super exciting. It's just nice to be able to see like an athlete at the start at trials to like where they are now. But yeah, like when I talk about my 21s, they are literally my babies. Like they are the first team that I was ever a head coach of for GB. You know, they'll always have a special place in my heart. I'm like, I've got like 20 sons. Did you know that?
You had mentioned in the research that the Cubs that they're going by as well. Is that right?
Yeah. So I mean, we were breaking down on kind of like under 21s, and I didn't like the fact we were breaking down by age. So it's very much like, I mean, my suggestion was Lions because it just made sense to me, and they were like, no, like, and they come up with Cubs, and they break down on Cubs, and then they all howl and bark, and then they're so funny, like they're fantastic. But what was actually interesting about that, we'd always been breaking down on Cubs and stuff, and then when we got through our group stage and stuff, and we were going into playoff games in King Bowl, when we were doing our breakdown, one of our players actually turned around like, we're not breaking down on Cubs. We're not Cubs today, we're Lions. And I just absolutely loved it. Like just seeing how they've gone from like, yeah, we're Cubs, and it was all fun, to like, actually, you know, we're in this position and right now we are Lions. Like, and fantastic. I love them all so much, and it's so nice for me to see them. Like one of our players has gone to like the GFL and stuff like that, and it's nice to actually see like just be a tiny part of their journey. Like they've done it all themselves because the work ethic and everything that they have, and they deserve all the opportunities that they get, but it's just nice to be like a small part of that journey and seeing them succeed, not even just in football, just in general, graduating from uni and whatever else it might be. It's just nice to have known them and been a part of their journey, and hopefully they look back on their time with us this year and have like fond memories from it and have like took something away from it.
Yeah, and I think I want to talk about the younger side in a second, but just in terms of the under 21 specifically, because this is a new innovation, and as much as there's some sports that have had sort of under 21 or under 23 setups, certainly, you know, in the 20 or so years that I've been following British American football, it's not really been something that they've focused on too much as an age bracket. So yes, there have been youth programs of various different strengths, but it's almost like once you get to senior level, that's you in the deep end. And don't get me wrong, there's some athletes that are just ready and they hit the ground running. I guess for others it can be a shock to the system. So what's the value of having this new step in the pathway?
Well, it's huge. And like, for example, if you're just coming out of under 17s and you've been a GB for youth, and then it's like, oh, like I've got to transition into the adult men's team, which obviously is a very, there's so many players, there's so many different teams for the men's league. It's a scary jump, and it's very much like a lot of the players that are in the setup have a lot of experience. So you do need to transition from playing football where you are maybe the same height, same body size and whatnot, into a different level of football, and then you bring into like international level football at adult competition where you're seeing a lot more different schemes. You're seeing like a ridiculous athletes and the likes of like the way Japan play and stuff. There's I think what the big step is for a lot of players is actually football IQ, and you get that from experience. Obviously, some people take to it like a duck to water, but sometimes it's just about being in them scenarios and experiencing different things for them to be able to get there. And obviously, you have to prepare for these situations. Like when we took the 21s to King Bowl, some of them, it was their first ever GB cap. And then next thing you know, you're in playoff contentions and you're having these games and emotions are high, and there's a lot to kind of think about. So having the transition where you come from youth and you're kind of not sat in limbo for a few years, we're actually getting them at prime age to mold them into what we want within that program, but also give them experiences and caps and knowledge and learning off the likes of the experienced players and getting them to actively compete against them. They're just going to learn so much. So it's massively important because, like you say, you know, there are players that can just step into that gold squad straight away, but there's a lot of players that their journey takes a little bit longer. But absolutely have them in the program. Let's not risk losing them or them being disinterested or whatever it might be. Let's get them early and, like I say, mold them into the athlete that we want them to be. And obviously the likes that we're working with at the moment are, you know, could be the next squad that goes to the Olympics because they're at that prime age, and it's giving them the experience and game time to be able to prepare for that.
Exactly. Well, yes, the first opportunity to see that game time was the King Bowl in Utrecht back in May. So I think the team at Ranking finished 7th out of a field of 48, which is a fantastic achievement. So tell us about how that felt, seeing your Cubs in action for the first time.
Well, I was so excited for this tournament, like super excited. We just have the most fun, lovely team ever, and they're absolute ballers as well. Like they do stuff, and I'm like, you are ridiculous. Like, how did you just do that? And I think obviously we went with expectations of like being realistic. I'm like, we know you can compete, but obviously we also know what the level is like. So we wanted to come within the top 10, and we were 1 point away from making it through like further into the playoffs. So, you know, I am so proud of them. I couldn't have asked for anything more. But it was amazing to see them on the big stage. But it was also after we had that game where we lost, and I mean we made them work for it. We did those shootouts, and you know what? It broke my heart for them because they absolutely deserved it, and it come down to execution at the end of the day. But also off the back of that, like I was trying not to cry because I had players crying, and it was just like I've been in these scenarios as well, so I completely understand how they're feeling. But seeing the way that they clubbed together, picked each other up, and got fired up for that next game is probably one of the proudest moments I've ever had, because they were such a unit that they got themselves to a point where they were absolutely devastated, and they still finished off that tournament. And they took it to the very last game to make sure that they placed as high as they possibly could. And we had the best weekend. Like, I come away from it absolutely on a high. It's definitely, again, another one of my favourite memories. But yeah, just seeing how, because a lot of them as well, like some of them are 17 and then others are at 21. So obviously you are in different stages, and like the maturity levels are different and whatnot. So it's so interesting to see how they interact, but also how they were when they were at trials to like where they are now. And you do see such a difference. Like one of the guys I saw at trials was like this young, like skinny, like tall, skinny lad, and then he turned up to camp and he's like a young man, and I was like, when did this happen? Like, it's crazy to see how they do transition.
And I think it's so true. And I think that this really just speaks to the value of the program, because I always have a saying, any level of the sport, all the way up to the NFL. But I mean, even in like flag teams that I've played with, you can learn to play, but it's something again to learn how to win. And actually, to your point there, that's one of the great things about the majority of flag tournaments is that when you go out the competition, it's usually not over. There's ranking games that come after that. So actually, it's not just about learning how to win, but it's about learning how to lose and respond to that.
100%. And like we come up against Kalikaku, and a lot of them are like French national team players, and they're doing all their dances and stuff like that. And one of my favourite memories is they're doing all their dances, and then next thing you see the whole of the 21 squad go out and match their vibes, and they're dancing with them. And I think Kalikaku were like, I don't think anyone's done this to us before. Like, what's happening? And like they were, I think we were winning at halftime, I'm pretty sure. I mean, we ended up losing by 2 scores, but it was like the fact that they've come off such a devastating loss, and then they've picked themselves back up, and they were beating a team that is known for being very good. Yeah, it is so important to know how to lose, and that's something we've been trying to do at youth, is getting them games where they're like confident and winnable, but also games that stretch them, so that we can almost simulate and understand how they react in them situations, but simulate experiences that they're going to go through, because you're going to face adversity, especially at competitions like the Euros, and we need to, as coaching staff, be able to understand how we then pick them up and what motivates them, and do they do it themselves, and that sort of stuff. So just trying to get that preparation right. But yeah, learning how to lose is one of the biggest challenges that you will have as an athlete and as a team. Yeah, being able to get that right is difficult, but so important.
100%. I mean, obviously the year's still not over yet. It's a busy summer for you, and obviously one of the big parts of that is for your under 15s and under 17s will be going to Innsbruck in Austria. Tell us about what you're looking forward to for that.
I'm super excited because obviously for me this will be like the first experience of a Euros, which is actually like youth level, so it'd be so nice. And I do know a couple of the coaches going from other teams, so it'd be nice to catch up with them as well. But I'm so excited seeing like how we do and how the players do, but also just seeing the work that they've put in all year and get to see them like on that big stage shining. And we'll have highs, we'll have lows, but it's about having them teams and them athletes that we've selected on that big stage and having these experiences, and then it's hopefully the drive for them to come back, keep on improving, and it's just that growth. And the ones that age out, hopefully they've had a year where they've learned so much, and the transition is then easier into adult football. Yeah, I mean, obviously Innsbruck's beautiful, so I'm very excited to go there. But no, I'm super excited to see the coaches' hard work that they've been doing behind the scenes as well, and everything that we've been pushing them for come to light on that stage.
It's bound to be a fantastic trip, and yeah, we wish all of the GB teams every success in their run at the tournament. I guess just thinking maybe a little bit further ahead as well. So obviously a big part of the youth programme is building that pipeline, starting to build for the future. And I guess thinking now that flag is on the Olympics agenda, we're almost kind of thinking these 4-year cycles. So what are your goals for the youth programme over the next several years?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say with how the roles are at the moment, but I think there's a lot of things that we need to look at. Trying to have 1-day camps with players is very difficult, because when you're trying to implement stuff in a few hours, and then you're not seeing them for another month, it's very hard. So, I mean, I have a lot of visions of how we can professionalize it a lot more, and extra stuff that we can do in regards to, like, it's an extra cost, but is there a way we can work around having like full weekend camps, which also simulates competition for them? That's a big one. Again, still streamlining that pathway through to adult football. There's a lot I would like to do, more classroom sessions as well as on field stuff around, like you say, the women's health, the psychological aspect, and enhancing their IQ of football earlier in terms of like game clock and stuff like that. Whether it's, we don't have to teach them everything in one go, we're never going to be able to do that, but starting to implement it and get them thinking about it, we're setting ourselves up for further success in every level then, because we are getting them athletes ready earlier, and we are giving them the opportunity to learn that extra stuff. Obviously it is stuff that we are working on and trying to implement now, but I'd like to have more time with them to kind of like delve into that side of things, and maybe a few international friendlies at camps rather than just sort of like UK teams. That extra experience is always positive. So I have many ideas, as you can probably imagine, but they're just a few to name. But yeah, I think there's a lot we can do within the time, and obviously if we do see more investment and stuff like that, it will obviously enhance what we can give them. But a big one as well is going to be upskilling coaches, and keeping them knowledgeable, and you know, I don't just want youth coaches that only have a focus on youth football. Like, I need them to understand adult football, international football, not just European football, but like worldwide football, everything. And then obviously we can develop what we have in front of us in terms of athletes then.
And I think it's just going to be a really exciting time. Obviously, the GB program's been well developed for a number of years now, but it's only, I think, going to grow and grow now that we do have that Olympic emphasis. It's really exciting times to see what comes next, and we'll be following the story very closely. I think just one final question before we wrap up for you, Kellie, which is, I guess, as we've talked through this evening, you've worn so many hats as a founder, a player, a captain, coach, an advocate for women's health. Is there one thing in particular you're most proudest of?
That's a very good question.
Not to put you on the spot.
All of it, I suppose. God, that's really hard. I'm very much proud of myself for getting to where I am and everything that I've achieved, and that's something I probably don't reflect on enough, because I just kind of like crack on with everything, and do what I need to do. But I'm proud to be in a position that I can give back to a sport that has given me so much. Yeah, that's a really difficult one to answer, and I'm going to kick myself later because I'll be this, be that, because there's so much. Like, I'm so proud of being a captain. I'm so proud of being in a European Championship squad. One of my biggest achievements, saying that, will probably be being the first GB female head coach. There we go. I'm proud of that achievement because it's massive, and I'm honoured, and I still have imposter syndrome that it's actually me. So that's I mean, that's got to be it, hasn't it?
I think that's a fantastic answer, and I think just like many of your experience with talk this evening, you just responded to the challenge. We've been put in the spot there, but I will hand over to Sarah just in terms of getting a chance to wrap things up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you, Kellie, for coming on and opening up and sharing your story with us. I mean, not even just as an athlete, but like as a leader, as a human, as a woman. Like, it's been incredible to not only follow your journey, but listen to you talk about it. And we are all rooting for you for whatever comes next. Maybe going for a 10th title with Coventry.
Yeah, that's 100%. You know that's on the cards. That is going to be happening. Don't you worry.
Good. We just had to clarify. Just had to make sure that you were doing it. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on and speaking to us. It's been a really great conversation.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for having me and the opportunity to share my journey. It's really nice. So thank you, and hopefully people will learn something off the back of it. And yeah, just thank you very much. And thank you for everything that you do for the sport as well, because without you guys doing like these podcasts and speaking to people and getting the word out there, like, it's super important. So thank you for everything that you do for the sport as well, because it's so needed.
It's okay, don't worry, it's okay. We do this for fun. Oh, sorry, hold on, I just have to make a point. I do this every single time. We spoke a lot about LA 2028. Listen, I'm available. If somebody's in media coverage that wants me to come talk about it, I'll go do it. I'll pay for my flight. I'll do it. It's okay. Just there's my camera. If anybody knows,
a camera and a microphone, guys.
I'll be right there. It'll be great. But no, thank you to Gav for joining me in the chairs today. It's been fabulous to see you again.
Pleasure as always.
And for everyone that's listening or watching, thank you. We appreciate all the support. I don't know when this is going out, but we had 1,000 followers on Instagram the other week, and we were absolutely buzzing. And now it seems to be thanks. It's not the biggest of numbers, but it's a big number to us, which is all that matters.
Take the win.
Take the wins as they come. But yeah, make sure to follow us on Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube, and all other major podcast platforms. And until next time, we will see you soon.